Before we begin, I want to invite you into the Jubilee Haven Patreon community, a quiet space where we go deeper into healing, spiritual connection, and the quiet mysteries that guide us. If this podcast has touched you, your support here helps me keep creating these conversations. The link is patreon.com/deathismylife, and I will put the link in the show notes. Thank you.
This is a trigger warning that this episode contains topic of suicide.
Hi, David. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
I'm so glad to see you. It's been so long.
It's been a really long time.
I know. Yeah. Okay, so we know each other from martial arts. Mm-hmm. We got our black belts together, right?
I was working on my brown belt. You're ahead of me for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, he's still better A than I am. And a sword master, is that what you call it?
I did kendo. Doing kendo. So I was like essentially like one rank before the black belt equivalent in that. But yeah, that was one thing I always really loved, and it's been a few years, cool. And I can definitely feel it and see it. But yeah, hoping to get back into it. Yeah. If anything ever opens back up at home here soon.
Yeah, cool. We do like short sticks and karambits and bow stuff still. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I love the Kali sticks and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, it's always fun.
I know. And one of our masters, he's 76 and still doing it. And he makes like all the weapons for us and is always cool. Selling them to us. Yeah. It was so fun. All right. Let's see. Okay. So you're here. You didn't really give me too much of an over, except for you've been having some family trauma issues.
Yeah, well, and just kind of an overarching, like the theme of today I wanted to talk about was ambiguous loss. And, you know, as you talk a lot about like, you know, death and grieving and like that process, I kind of thought it'd be fun to talk about, you know, what it is when it's something that doesn't have that like obvious closed end, you know, when there's no, what's the word, like closure. And something's left open-ended and how that affects us. Yeah. And how it differs. And I just kind of wanted to talk about some of those nuances. And I should preface that I'm not a licensed therapist, but I'm currently in training to become a therapist and getting my master's. That's so cool. Yeah. So. Okay.
Well, that would be good. Yeah, because I think I have wanted to touch on that. I think like, you know, I have on my list to talk about like sudden death versus expected. I do hospice, so it's like usually expected in some way or another.
Process in a way that's expected. Yeah.
So you're thinking more of the like kind of sudden trauma or like
that's like the ambiguous thing. There's like so many different ways that it kind of manifests. One of the big ones is Alzheimer's. Is one of the big ones. And again, since I'm not licensed and like don't talk about clients, I will be drawing a lot from like my own experience. Yeah. But yeah, like through my own journey through like healing and depression and figuring that out, a lot of it was tied to like these ambiguous things, you know, that couldn't quite put a name on. And a lot of those things can feel like a death, you know. And so yeah, just kind of share some personal family stories, but I just found more and more as I've talked to people of like how common this is and how it affects people. And
and then like so all right. So you are, I know, a veteran. Did that have anything to do with like, did that cause you any grief or trauma that you had to work through? I know what you did in the
right. Yeah, no, that's a great segue. Just jumping in, like, you know, I fixed jets. I was the crew chief on the A-10, and it's just getting retired here, sadly. But one of the things I think that caused that loss is you lose that community when you get out, and that's a big thing. I still keep in touch with a lot of those friends. I've had one come visit me. I've gone and visited another, but over the last like 12 years, that's about it. And these are people that you really, you know, are shoulder to shoulder with, and you're such a tight-knit community, and to suddenly lose that definitely causes, you know, those same feelings of kind of loss, but you know those people are still there, but you can't just go see them at the drop of a hat.
Well, and you're probably with them like day in and day out, and more than you are with your family, and then they learn something that with you that people around you can't. Like,
Right.
your wife will never know what you went through. You're the closest people in your outside life will never know.
Right.
So I could see that camaraderie building, and then just to lose it is, oh, wow.
Yeah. And I've talked about it like in previous other podcasts. Like, that's a big thing too. I feel like so often like veteran suicide gets linked to PTSD and things like that. But when you kind of look at the numbers, it's true, both things can be true though, that like a lot of the suicides happen with people who didn't have any combat, didn't have any singular traumatic experience. It is oftentimes they get home and they realize that no one else around them understands what they went through, or that camaraderie they had that was so important to them is just gone. And they kind of just, I've seen it over and over again, both with people close to me and just hearing about, like mutual friends and acquaintances, that they just kind of spiral until they take their own lives because of that depression that happens from that ambiguous feeling of just you lost something, but you can't quite name it.
Yeah, we definitely, like, I would have never thought of that. Yeah, we just assume like it's PTSD from what you had to do. But yeah, there's so many different aspects, like you didn't really.
Yeah, I fix planes.
Yeah, you fixed planes,
that's...
so probably didn't cause PTSD except for the separation.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and building a community has been like vital around here, and have a great community. But for a lot of people, they don't have that when they get home, or have the tools, how to.
Yeah. Do you think that's kind of similar to what happens when people get out of prison? Like, they just kind of don't know how to live. They're not around the people that they lived with for so long.
Yeah. And that's like a good, like what causes these feelings, and, and there's a lot of things context wise. Again, it's like Alzheimer's, where that person's there, but they're not really there. We call it like black star families in the military. There's the flag where if you have kids in there, you'll see the flags on their windows or cars or whatever, but there'll be blue star families, which means they have somebody who's active duty. A gold star family, they replace that blue star with a gold star if somebody was killed in action. And then a black, it's kind of a new thing. I don't know if it's even like official, but they've referred to it as a black star family. And those are the veterans usually who come home with PTSD, who aren't really themselves anymore. And that was one thing that always stood out to me, and I would consider my family. So there's 4 of us siblings, and it's 3 boys and a girl, and all 3 of us boys were in the military. And then my little sister married a Marine veteran, and so in one way or another, we were all in. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And you come home, and some people aren't whole. Yeah. It definitely like causes far-reaching, issues within the family. And so, within my own family, I've seen how that affects, my parents, the sibling dynamic, even as like adults now. But I would definitely say one of my first kind of like aha moments with this was after being all separated because our military service. I think all of us had this idealized dream that once we were all out of the military, we'd kind of live somewhat close and just kind of magically have this kind of Partridge Family relationship, where everything's great. And then kind of realizing that it wasn't that simple, and obviously like some family members still live far away. And then, dealing with, again, kind of the Black Star family dynamic, it's definitely like when everyone's not whole, your expectations change, but you want them, you're kind of forcing this, like, but as kids, this is what we really wanted. And it was kind of this realization that it was like, oh, this is never going to be the way I thought it was going to be. Yeah. And kind of learning to mourn that. But it's been kind of like a journey of like 20 years learning that, because it wasn't just the military service, having family who has mental illness and things like that. Yeah, it's hard to quantify when you're a kid.
Sure. Yeah. So what are you learning in your program? Like, I know that's a huge question.
Yeah. Still taking some upper division classes. But one thing that my wife and I have been a part of is a narrative trauma group. And so it's a group therapy, and you get together with other people, and essentially you share stories, and you write it kind of in a way of like you're actually writing a story about your life. And you write the event, and we give them time to share, and then we all just get to kind of offer. It's not just about affirming necessarily, but definitely listening, like a deep listening, and then asking questions and showing that affirmation, but also curiosity, and helping other people kind of work through their trauma with other people in a group. It's always nerve-wracking at first, but it's amazing how so oftentimes people feel isolated and alone within, because of that traumatic experience, and hearing other people share those things really helps them open up and realize, oh, I'm not alone in this, and I have people I can talk to. And so my wife and I are actually a part of that board for a nonprofit.
Oh, nice.
Called Stoop and Crown. It's awesome. It's a great group of people. So we do like retreats, and usually try to keep it free for the people who sign up and come along.
Yeah.
And we find like a cool house on the coast or in the mountains or wherever, and just kind of we cook for them, and it's just about kind of serving them. And my wife took the classes and got her certification to facilitate those meetings.
Oh my god.
And she's fantastic at it.
I bet.
Yeah.
I love Beth. Shout out to Beth.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been an awesome journey.
Cool. How long have you guys been doing
I
that?
think like 3, maybe 4 years now. Yeah, it's been.
What kind of transformations have you seen,
Right.
during that group?
Man, I mean, marriages that were kind of falling apart suddenly just like completely turn around. I mean, from my own experience, I got married when I was 19, just turned 20 actually, and was married for about 7 years, and that fell apart, and just kind of learned to navigate that. So obviously when, I married my wife, Beth, now we definitely had to like navigate through some things, and especially going through that, it really helped us as a couple learn to just communicate better, relate, and understand like things like attachment styles and our own like family of origin, those traumas. And I found that a lot of mine is tied to this theme over and over in my life of ambiguous loss and not understanding that.
How do you... I'm going to come back to that, but can you talk about the attachment styles?
Sure. Yeah. So, there's generally like 3, sometimes 4, depending on how you talk to, but with attachment styles, depending on our childhood experiences, if we have a parent who is a little bit more, well, I'll go different routes. There's an anxious attachment style where, you're always kind of waiting for the hammer to drop. Things weren't super secure in your family. You might have a parent that you're kind of afraid of. One parent that was like really kind, but so you're always kind of trying to please, and you see that. And then there's avoidant attachment style, which is where you're very independent. You really, really value that, but it can often come off as almost like anti-social and cold at times, even. Just like somebody with an anxious attachment style can come off as, I guess you could say, clingy. And then there's secure attachment style, which is where you had a good amount of trust that your parent was going to be like loving, but also they were like that person who brought discipline, and but they also provided for you, so there was that safety there. And I have my own thoughts about kind of that. I tend to see attachment style as like anyone can work towards a secure attachment style, and we're kind of on the spectrum of anxious or avoidant, and a lot of people like to call it anxious ambivalent as well, just kind of FYI. And I feel like we can always move towards those things, because there's a 4th attachment style that's often called chaotic or disorganized.
Yeah.
That's generally reserved for people with personality disorders and other mental health issues, and I don't think it's a very appropriate category to lump all that into one thing. Yeah, people with like PTSD and CPTSD.
Yeah.
So that's where I feel like that could be like, if we looked at it more on like a axis of like a y-axis and x-axis, it kind of tells you how severe certain things are, but that's my own ideas on it.
Sure. And are we going in and out of these styles, you think, like all the time, depending on the situation?
Right. Usually it's not fixed. And that's one thing too, is the attachment styles are not a personality type. That is one of the issues with it, with kind of popular psychology today, is in the literature for it does kind of, at some people treat it more like an attachment style. A personality type. But it is like a dynamic, fluid thing. But generally people are kind of more either avoidant or anxious. Unless that's kind of where the chaotic thing comes in. Like maybe somebody with, let's say, like borderline personality disorder tend to have that I hate you, don't leave me mentality.
Yeah.
So it's like the push and pull is there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an exception to that. But I think most people are, either avoidant or anxious, and then you can move towards security.
Mm-hmm.
But
and that security is the goal.
Yeah.
Secure attachment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, for instance, too, like technically after taking all like the surveys for it and whatnot, I come back as like a little avoidant because I'm pretty independent. My wife is a little anxious, and that's hard when you're newlyweds, you know, because I want space and she thinks, oh no, he's leaving me, you know, and she's feeling, you know, secure and just wants to, you know, like be just like on me cuddling or talking all the time, where I'm kind of like, I just need a little space, you know, and then it's like, oh no, what's wrong? And it's just figuring that out and learning and to navigate those things has been so important for our relationship.
Yeah, because if you don't understand it, I can see how those two things conflict and they exacerbate each other.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, a lot of the literature is like, oh, if you're anxious, just find a secure person. And it's like not, you know, as if it's just like going to the grocery store. I think it's better to understand why you are anxious or avoidant and then find that compassion. And that's like, isn't that so much greater to like meet each other where you're at and learn to grow together?
Well, it's more realistic.
Right.
Probably.
That's how I feel. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yep.
Okay, so those are interesting. I just wanted to know that.
I literally just like did a paper on that, so that's why I kind of just blah blah blah. Yeah, that's kind of on my mind.
Well, okay, so then how do those attachment styles like affect somebody who's in the grieving process?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. You know, I find it can be a good thing. It can be like a great survival tool, but ambivalence. A lot of A words today. But ambivalence is something that can be like great, but it can also come off as like cold and avoiding something, you know. So I find that like people who are avoidantly attached, you know, tend to go towards ambivalence and they might pull away and withdraw, you know, and that might cause other family members to think they're just being a jerk, but they're doing their own healing process, right? And I know I've been there, certainly. I mean, my grandmother had Alzheimer's, and we weren't particularly close. You know, she was kind of just, she was wild, has a crazy story. My mom's actually writing a book on her.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy story. But anyways, like, that could be a whole thing on its own.
Yeah, we're going to have to do that.
Yeah. But she had Alzheimer's for a pretty long time and lived to be 94. I can't remember when it started, but it went on for a while. And I know kind of it got to a point where I finally just said goodbye once she had no idea who I was or anything anymore. I tended just to say, you know what, like, I'm grieving this relationship we had, what little relationship we kind of had. And I just decided I was kind of done at that point. You know, and I grieved that relationship on my own while I had a lot of cousins and family who were still going and seeing her on a regular basis. Maybe thought I was a little cold or selfish for doing that, right? Or people who are anxiously attached are going to be those ones who like, I have to take care of them. They're going to sacrifice time with their own families, you know, maybe to an unhealthy degree and have that kind of that, I don't want to say like cling. It sounds such a derogatory term, I feel like, but you know, they have a harder time letting that go sometimes.
Sure. No, that makes sense. I mean, clingy, like that just makes the lay people understand.
Yeah,
what you
right.
mean.
Yeah.
Clingy, no offense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I really want to know about Grandma's story, but if it's a long story, we can save
It's
it.
a very long story.
Okay. Okay. I'll put that on my to-do list. Ask about David's grandma. Okay. Let's see. So you have had, I'm sure, loss in your life. Well, you said goodbye to Grandma, and I'm sure she's passed by now. But you had said goodbye before she actually died because of her, basically brain death, because of she was not Grandma anymore.
Yeah.
Before she died. So the dying actually might have been relieving, or you were just over.
Yeah, at the end for the whole family. It was. She was in a home. You know, we had to put her in a home eventually because she would wander and was kind of belligerent and things. And so, yeah, we did make the call to put her in a home. And so, yeah, she was taken care of. And it was one of those things where, you know, my mom, of course, and others went and visited her once in a while.
Yeah.
But for me, it was hard seeing her decline, you know. Same with my paternal grandmother as well. She had a stroke and had a hard time with that, and was a piano player for years, and that was really sad having her kind of lose that ability, because it completely, I think it was her right side. Might have been her left, but it was just hard because, that was just such a huge part of their lives, and to lose that was really difficult to see. And they were like world travelers and explorers, and she also lived to be in her 90s, like mid 90s. And she was actually pretty sharp cognitively her whole life. But even that was really hard to see her decline. And I did try, admittedly a little harder to stay in touch with her and go visit her once in a while, living a couple hours away, or in the military and stuff too. But yeah, it's, you kind of have to start that grieving process like early almost of, what could have been and what was. Right.
I see that too, like with people who, I think we start grieving as soon as, I don't know, I do as like a nurse, I guess.
Right.
I start grieving as soon as I see like any little thing, like my dog got a gray hair and I'm like, oh no, she's going to die in like 5 years,
Right. Yeah.
But then even with our parents, like we're getting a little older, and I'm sure we're noticing little, my parents are great, wonderful, just little signs that you're like, oh, we won't live forever.
Totally. I mean, kind of same. My parents are both getting to their mid 60s. Starting to see those little things, and
little.
I think a big one though for us, going kind of the ambiguous loss stuff, is my dad got adult onset diabetes, and I think he was either in his early 50s or late 40s when he got diagnosed, I think. And I know for them, that's been something. I don't know if they've ever completely like processed. I don't want to put words in their mouth, but yeah, there was a shift, and I remember the first time him and I did the South Sister when I was 17. 17 years ago now, jeez. But yeah, I just remember, because he was always like a mountaineer and very active runner, but I remember him having a lot of hesitation because he was like so nervous about how his blood sugar would be, and because it's, it's a physically demanding thing. The mountain here, it's about 12 miles. It's a steep hike. But, he killed it. He did great. But that was the first time I kind of saw that hesitation in him. The worry. Yeah. And I know that's in some way or another like affected them quite a bit. And I, again, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but I can see that it's like the process. It's definitely been a process accepting that, and how it has changed their lives. And just talking with my mom recently, how that was one thing they had to mourn. It was like, oh, our lives are just going to look quite a bit different from now on. And there definitely was like a mourning of kind of what could have been. Yeah. Sure.
Have you had any friends pass away?
Yeah, that's a weird one for sure. Like, it was kind of like some random ones at first. Just like childhood friend died of like, it was like meningitis, so it was super random. When I was like 25. And when you're in your 20s, you don't even think about like death as even a thing. No. And so to have somebody around your age die from something that wasn't just like a freak accident, I've had a friend, one friend die in a car accident, one friend die from actually a freak like accident falling down a waterfall in Hawaii.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was crazy. And they helped another kid who was stuck of like, it was because during the rainy season, you know how the flash floods come in really quick down those washes. So it's like when those freak things happen, it's almost more tangible when in your 20s, right? Because it's just like so crazy. But when somebody dies from like illness, I feel like in their 20s, whether it be like a cancer or something like meningitis, you feel like, no, that can't happen to me. I'm young and invincible almost, And I think that's kind of the first losses I had, and obviously in the military, I did know I've had like 5 friends either commit suicide or go into substance abuse and not come back from that. And that's definitely started to kind of bring that into like reality a little bit more. Yeah.
So when they go into like those spaces, not suicide, obviously you can't talk to them, but in like those dark places of usage, do you try to be there for them, or are you there for yourself and you have to set boundaries and cut them off?
Right. It's a, that's a really good question. It's a little bit of both, I think. Sometimes you have friends who just kind of, they start to withdraw.
Yeah.
That's the real hard thing about suicide. I had a family member, a cousin, commit suicide, and like about, I think this is like 7 years back now, but that was really hard because it was like, he struggled with like things like bipolar, but one day he was wonderful and then he was just gone, and so he definitely had those valleys for sure, months where he'd be really depressed and we kind of try to get him out of bed or whatever, just try to pump him up and, be excited for life. Know? And right before he was gone, he was like, it was just the last time I talked to him just a few days before, he was like doing great. Just had a birthday party, for him. And yeah, that's like the tragic thing. And that's been a common trend with the friends I've lost to suicide is when you talk to them beforehand, you kind of check in on them. It's always like, oh, I'm great. Yeah, no, I'm fine. It's hard, and that does lead to that kind of, not to make it about like yourself, but it does kind of lead to that frustration afterwards when it's like, why didn't you just talk to me, and tell me what was really going on when I was asking, especially.
Yeah. Well, I heard that, or I learned, I guess, that they get that like elation because they've finally committed.
Right. It's like a resolution to their, yeah, they've like made up their mind clearly.
Yeah.
And maybe.
That's horrible. I hate that the most.
I know.
Ugh.
Yeah.
How do you get through that?
That's another good question. I mean, I know in my case, it was one of those things where I feel like my parents were definitely like, be there for your aunt and uncle and be that, they need you more than ever now. Because my family lives in, a couple hours away. And so I have lots of aunts and uncles in this area too. But anyways, like, it was kind of like one of those things where at first it's easy to nod and be like, yeah, of course. But with my own grief and how I process things, being kind of avoidantly attached, I wanted to withdraw. I don't want to be really close and to the situation there. And that surprised me kind of myself. And I felt like a jerk for a while, and I honestly kind of just, I didn't ghost him, but definitely reduced communication, kind of did the opposite. We've had wonderful talks about that now and kind of rebuilt those relationships. But that was definitely one of those things where it was like, yeah, how do you get through that? And I think one of the ways is in any loss, is to just make time and be intentional about grieving and not avoiding it. Avoid that ambivalence, if you will. And take the time to grieve them. Take the time to remember the good times. Take the times to be angry, if you need to.
How do you not hold on to the guilt? Like, not that you had anything to do with this person's suicide, but like you were saying, like, why didn't you reach out to me? We all have that guilt. Like, what could we have done more to prevent this? Nothing. The answer is nothing.
Right.
We couldn't have done anything different. It was their decision, but we hold on to it. So how can we not hold on to it?
That's a good question. Yeah, and that is one of those things where I guess in that particular circumstance, I didn't have a lot of guilt in that regard. And I've heard that a lot too. And yeah, because essentially you have to accept, even if it's hard, that it's like they made their decision.
Yeah.
And you can spend your entire life asking yourself what you could have done differently. And I do think it is like this is like Jocko Willink has a book, The Extreme Ownership, but it's like also taking like, taking ownership of your own life and your own decisions. But I also think there should be extreme acceptance when you just accept like what has happened and not dwell on what could have been. Right. So for me personally, I texted his phone after he was gone and I just told him, I wish you would have talked to me. I love you. And, I wish things could have been different and, I love you forever. And, that kind of like let a little bit of that go. And that was extremely cathartic. It really it helped. I got to tell him, I was like, I'm mad at you. Yeah. I'm not going to be forever, and yeah, it was kind of like a really healing moment for me.
Yeah.
just that little thing. Again, just kind of trying to find those little things to be intentional about grieving. I find that people who have a really hard time recovering from grief are the ones who avoid not necessarily just the hard emotions, but even just like, even the happy things, you know?
Yeah, I did that after my grandma died. Like, I wouldn't go to Costco for the longest time because that was our place. And just, like, nope, can't go to Costco. Like, it's happy memories. But I guess it just brings back that, it accentuates her absence.
Right.
You know, I'm good at go now, but.
No, it's good. Yeah, one of the things that like I had a friend in the military whose dad died in a car accident unexpectedly, and their like favorite song together. I noticed like anytime the song played, like if we're at a restaurant or something, she'd get up and leave like quickly.
Oh.
And I kind of asked her about it, and she told me, I was like, that was a song like he really liked that band, and we listened to it, and it's blanking on it. I feel terrible. But yeah, I just remember being like, well, have you ever just like really sat with that and felt those things? And she was like, no, I don't want to. Yeah. I remember finally, it's like after we kind of got to know each other for like 2 years, just kind of sat down, was like, do you want to listen to that song with me? And just like, oh, so, or just whatever by yourself. Yeah. But she's like, I would love to have somebody like with me. And she just listened to the song and, you know, felt all the things. And,
oh my God.
Yeah, I just think like she'd been avoiding it for so long that was kind of also kind of a little profound thing. Not, oh, that doesn't sound like conceited or whatever, but I was just like, oh, this works. Like kind of just moving through those things. Yeah. Intentionally really, really helps.
Yeah. It does. Talking about it, I think writing them a letter, like you texted the phone, but if we can't do that, you text them, write a letter, record a voice memo to them.
Yeah, any of those things are great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Express how you feel or how you felt and then release it.
Yeah. But I think that's like, again, moving towards it, it's like, you know, those are all like losses that have kind of a certainty to them. You know that person's gone. You know, so what happens when it's like a ruptured relationship? You know, that person, you maybe even see that person on a regular basis. And you have to see that person and think about that relationship all the time. What is it when, the person you love the most, like your father has Alzheimer's and doesn't know who you are anymore and all the steps involved with that. A marriage, you know, like, and not just, I always found like, you know, going through my own divorce, a marriage is very akin to death. And even if I've known people who are just like, oh, I hated this person, we're divorced, why am I so depressed? You know, and it's like, well, the marriage itself is like an entity in a way. It is. And
it's a lifestyle. And
I mean, you're emotionally.
Do all day, every day.
Yeah. You're emotionally and physically invested with a person. Like, even if you're not getting along towards the end, it's this thing that you fostered, you know, and raised together, and now it's just gone. Yeah. And mourning that like a death, I think, was kind of helpful in my own story. But then there was like the but what could have been with, I mean, when I got out of it, I was financially just like destitute for a hot minute there. Yeah. And there was a lot of like not understanding what it was, but just like that grieving of like, man, I was doing good for being a young 20-something and now I'm starting over, and that was a really hard pill to swallow.
It just, like it changes everything. Just a change on its own is complicated.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, with my own family, I think the biggest thing we've been working through is, again, I have one sibling who, you know, has a lot of like mental illness issues and, you know, substance abuse and things like that. And for my own parents, you know, it wasn't just a post-military thing. It's kind of been since teenage years. And just recently kind of helping them walk through this together. Just certain events have occurred where it's like they can't avoid or look away anymore. It's like, this is an issue. And helping my parents as best I can, my other siblings, learn that, you know, this is a reality. And we have a sick family member that we need to make boundaries with. That's been huge, because that's always been this cycle, right? But then also the hard thing, I remember I had a conversation with my dad not too long ago on the phone, just addressing these issues. And when he asked, we had some good memories though too, right? You know, or it was good at one time.
Yeah.
Kind of honestly having to say it never really was.
Really?
We're clinging on to seconds of thing, you know, like it was the little glimpses of positivity don't outweigh the years of abuse and, you know, coercion and control. Yeah. You know, and that's a hard pill to swallow. You know, and I went through that again when we got out of the military, still thinking that relationship could be like somewhat salvaged. I ultimately have had to go no contact with this family member, you know, and that was a really hard thing for the rest of my family at first. Yeah. I was kind of seen as the jerk.
Right. Okay. So I'm sorry. I'm in a place right now. I am like finally just understanding what you meant by ambiguity now. Okay, so yes. Gotcha. So like, like when that person's still alive and there's still that like hope, that what if, I'm sure that is just hard, and you probably want to break down those walls sometimes, and just I can see how that's really rough.
Right. Like a lot of the family sees having healthy boundaries as like giving up on that person. And that's not the case either. I mean, both on my own like religious beliefs, you know, I don't believe we can fully just like, when I say no contact, I stand ready to like offer forgiveness and reconciliation. Of
course.
You know, but I've come to that realization that it's like, but this has to be a two-way street now. This can't just, this has been a one-way street our entire lives, you know, or since we were, you know, young. Yeah. And I think like a lot of my family's starting to see that too. You know, I have one sibling I'm really close with, and you know, part of that is because we both recognize this, like, oh, this is really toxic behavior, and it's not. I don't want this around my family. You know, and I don't have children, but my little brother does, and so he has that extra motivation to be like, I need to protect my family from this, and that's hard for parents, you know, and I totally get it. I do understand, even though I don't have children, I can sympathize at least. Yeah. That, you know, that family you always had and you wanted, it's just not a reality, no matter how much you want to will it into existence. Yeah. And that's been such a hard thing for my parents to work towards. But it has been. I mean, this last year has been incredible with just trying to help them via just like books I've read that have really helped me, or even just like long discussions. Yeah.
So are they kind of doing the no contact thing too?
No, and you know, I don't think they ever will, but that's totally fine. But just trying to offer them, it's like, well, how can you have contact and still have boundaries in place, you know?
That's wonderful.
And when kind of like talking to like, it's common with people who are like super narcissistic, you have to develop a way of talking to them. They call it like yellow rock and gray rock, where yellow rock is you're still cordial and kind, but you don't offer anything to that person about your own life really. Yeah. But you can be like, oh yeah, how's it going? And they just talk to you, and then you're kind of like, that's great. Okay, bye. You know? And gray rock's a little bit more just like, yes, no. Like you have to kind of just shut down. And unfortunately, it just kind of got to the point where I decided it's like, okay, like either those aren't working for me either now. And it unfortunately looks like we'll just have to cut it off for now. And just, you know, kind of like pray for that person afar and hope for the best. And again, stand ready to offer that reconciliation and forgiveness. Yeah. But that's been, I think, the greatest example of, again, that ambiguous loss in our family. And it's a work in progress. But like grieving somebody who has passed, I think it's so important to be intentional about taking the time to acknowledge that this relationship, you know, or this thing is not how I always hoped and dreamed it would be. Take what you can away from that, the positives. But it's so important to acknowledge the negatives as reality and learn to move on. I mean, and this can be, we had a family, like a cabin in the woods that my grandpa and my mom and dad and everyone pitched in and built together. Wow, you know, and when cool. it was an amazing space for us. We always just thought it'd be there. Yeah. But once my grandma had her stroke and medical bills piled up and everything, we had to sell it, and that was really hard, you know. Yeah. And I mean, even something like that, even mourning like the loss of a space or a home. If you lose a home,
there's so much energy in that building. But yeah, anybody, your home or
and so when you think about those things, I started to realize it's like, oh my gosh, so many people are dealing with this weird form of grieving that they don't even know how to process or like acknowledge a lot of the time, and how that affects us is crazy. I mean, from depression to like we talked about, like veterans who commit suicide due to loss of camaraderie and that change. It affects us in a lot of different ways, and I think it's, at least in my life, in my own community of friends and people, I just noticed it's like so many people are struggling with these things and don't know how to even like acknowledge it and start healing.
And sometimes I wonder if people feel like they can't grieve the loss of something like that's not a death, you know, like just a house or a job, like or even a divorce, you know. We do grieve those, and we can, and it's okay.
And I think one example too, and it's kind of both, I guess, but you know, like in the event of a stillbirth or something closer to that, now it's kind of like both. You get the worst of that, both worlds there, where you have that death that you can grieve, sure, but then you're stuck with a lifetime of what could have beens, you know? And
I know, like this would have been her 10th birthday. Oh my gosh, that would just be the most horrible.
And those reminders, and it's we've had that in my family, and the initial grieving process is rough, but like beautiful in its own way, you know. But then it's like, I think as would have been an uncle, thinking about that, it still catches me off guard, you know. And I'm just like, having all these other nieces and nephews I love so much, it's sad feeling that emptiness, and obviously not nearly on like a deep level as a parent. But it just kind of twinges at your heart a little bit.
So much. It's so horrible. I was studying like the ancient cultures, and you know, a lot of them would think that they would celebrate that, like, because their belief in the afterlife was so strong. So they would just celebrate, oh, she got to go home without ever suffering. She never experienced any suffering. And that's true, I guess, you know. It's like not acceptable for this world, but you know. I just love that though, because at least the one tiny little thread of hope is that, you know, they didn't suffer. They got to be in this beautiful, peaceful womb for their entire existence.
No, that is a good way to look at it. And those are those things you really have to
dig deep.
Dig deep and force yourself to focus on sometimes.
I know. Well, it's hard. What do you believe in the afterlife?
So I'm a Christian, and you know, I do believe, you know, ultimately that there's heaven, you know, and we will see each other again. And that is one thing that I've talked with other people where it's like, it does help. You miss those people, but when you really like truly believe that, that's like, I will see them again. You know, I mean, some people, it varies on like dogs, for example. I had a fantastic dog when I was in the military, and went through my divorce and moved back here and everything. She lived to be 16, and in 22 had to put her down because, you know, she just that time, you know. And there's almost like, this might sound terrible, you can cut this out if you need to, but sometimes it's almost like more sad when I think about the loss of this dog that I just love so much, because, you know, there isn't, it's kind of like a gray area when they talk about like animals and their souls and stuff versus humans. And, you know, it's like, you just get them for that little tiny amount of time, where these people we lose, it's like, you know, in the afterlife, I'll get to spend eternity with my family and, you know, with our Savior. It's different.
Are you saying all dogs don't go to heaven?
I'm just saying, you know, it's a gray area. I personally like to believe that they do.
I like to believe that too.
Right. You know, it's kind of that same debate or that talk when people, it's like, well, are we still married when we get to heaven? You know, and kind of ultimately it's like, not really, like, no. But a lot of people don't like to even think about that when you've been, you know, so. yeah, that's kind of the greater.
But, I guess if you're like, well, if dogs are allowed, then our cats, then our fish, then it's grass.
There's like one verse that kind of alludes to like, because God made all things, then yes, like everything has in some way or shape or form like a soul, of course. But then most of them kind of say how we are, made in his image, and we are set apart from the rest of the flora and fauna. So that, it's kind of like, dang it, the more of those you find. But there is that piece of me that wants to believe that.
Yeah, just highlight that. The one good verse.
Right, I know. And I know that sounds terrible, but there is a piece to that, And because, it is like, it's hard, like when you don't have that belief that you won't ever see them again, or there is an afterlife and they're just gone. It's, man, I can't imagine that. That's such a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah. I wonder, do you believe that you can receive messages from people who've passed?
That's a good question. Man, I'm kind of in this fun phase of like exploring some of those things, just like podcasts and stuff. But I'm not, it's hard. Like I hear so many good stories about, like a quick one. I had a good friend from the Air Force, and I think it was her aunt was telling me the story that it was either like her sister, her other aunt, or her aunt's best friend passed away right before she was supposed to leave for a trip to Hawaii. And her friend always really loved sea turtles. She had like everything in their house was like sea turtle themed. And it was like her first time getting in the water in Hawaii. The sea turtle just out of nowhere swam up from the deep to her and just stayed with her for like the entire time.
Oh my gosh.
And
that's so cool.
Yeah, there's like certain things like that, and you're like, well, you're in Hawaii. There's lots of green sea turtles,
right? Yeah,
but there's that part of me that wants to believe
there the
that
whole time too, which is a little
right. And if not them sending a message, like with my own beliefs, it's like then maybe it's God, providing that to comfort them and remind them that it's like I've got them. That, you're good. And I mean, there's this great little thing that went viral of a gal who is getting married and her dad passed away, and they had like this, I don't know what the background was, but they had this shared love of like butterflies. And while they're like saying the vows, a butterfly just lands on her shoulder and she just starts crying. Like it's really sweet. So again, it's like, is that, somebody from the afterlife? Like, no, I kind of the belief is when you're in heaven, like, being close to God is like, your family, not that your family doesn't matter, that's a terrible way to put it, but it's like it pales in comparison to the love that you feel in heaven. And so maybe it's like these ways of letting them know that it's like there's peace and I've got them. But I'm definitely on the fence about that. On that one.
So you haven't had any personal experiences that you questioned? No, not
personally. Like it's I'm trying to think, kind of dig deep. I've had some like awesome, just like, I don't know, feelings of like acceptance. And man, this kind of might be beside the point, but like I got to do a veteran, kind of volunteered for a veteran psilocybin clinic. So I got to try that with like psilocybin. And that really helped move me through my grief with my cousin.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I want to know all about it, but go ahead.
I was gonna say that was a crazy experience because like I don't use like anything recreationally, and I'm not but personally I'm not really I don't care. But just personally I don't. So that was a big leap of kind of like getting out of my comfort zone. But going into therapy and seeing how it's been such a positive experience for a lot of veterans with like substance abuse and stuff, I thought I should know what this is like. And so there's like, it was paid for, it was very official, dove into it, and holy cow, like it was those feelings, like I had like a full conversation with Galen, beyond just leaving that message for him, which did help. I gotta like in that state, sit with him and talk to him and say goodbye. And it was as if he was it felt like he was there. It really like, you can almost feel, like when you're next to another person, you can just feel it. And gotta have those conversations and say goodbye like one more time. And that was such a powerful experience. On top of that, coming out of that, just feeling extreme gratitude and warmth and yeah, just like, they're kind of almost cliche to talk about, but it was a really beautiful experience, and gotta have like, say goodbye to other things too, just grievances and my own, like, what's the word? Kind of like grudges and things like that. We're just like gone. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did that last?
Yeah, it's lasted now. It's crazy. That was like a year and a half ago, I feel like now.
Okay. Yeah.
I know some people like to do that like once every year or once every 6 months.
Yeah.
But I mean, it didn't like, it's not like a complete 180, obviously.
Yeah.
But just there's certain things like that, like especially the old grudges and whatnot, have just like gone away.
Yeah.
And it's pretty crazy. Like even like feelings towards like, ex-wife, or you're like angry and stuff. It's like, it helps you find that, I don't want to say pity, but like, there's a lot of mental health on that
Empathy.
side of it. Yeah, not just, empathy and like passion.
Yeah.
And to let it go, like, so it kind of leads to a level of like understanding that lets you let go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's been a powerful.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't expecting that. So I definitely think it's one thing that like everybody should try.
Yeah.
And it's not an addictive thing. It is a scary experience when you're going into it. It is not one of those things where it's like,
you're not gonna get
this
hooked.
is, it's like, and I mean, there's different degrees of that in different species. Actually, I studied biology and mycology for a while, so I just find mushrooms fascinating in general. But like, it's an incredible medicine, and I just think it's a shame, especially, because I'm sure you've known, like for hospice, it's huge for terminally ill patients. It helps them come to grips and accept that death is coming, and it's kind of a beautiful thing. It doesn't have to be a horrible, ugly, scary thing.
There's so many people I could see who would really benefit from that. The ones who are like suffering the most and the longest seems like they're the ones who are spiritually not ready.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even, like a lot of Christians where we talk about like, oh, I know where I'm going. I've seen people who are like, oh, I'm fine. And then they get close to that and they can't.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's scary. I mean, I don't, I can only speak for myself, but I'm sure it's a terrifying experience, leaving everyone behind. And if it helps with that, it's like, man, I wish this was more of a common thing, especially with like hospice. Yeah.
I know, hospice, and like, I love that they opened it up for the veterans, because it seems like you said, it's not addictive, but it also actually like it cures other addictions.
I didn't want to even like, I don't drink a ton. I'm more of like, I have a few drinks with my friends, on the weekend, but I didn't want to touch anything. It literally, like, I can't even explain it, but it's almost as like, oh, I know this is poison now. I don't want this, and 6 months later, it's like, sure, I'll have like a beer with my friends. I do like the craft beers, but I don't drink nearly as much as I used to. It really made me like, you look at it and you just like don't want it. But it's like, it's like, how valuable could that be for alcoholism and just anything?
Amazing,
really? Yeah. And then there's other things like ibogaine, which people are going down to Mexico for, and it's curing stuff like heroin addiction in one treatment.
Yeah, with no withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah, it's crazy. So
that's wild.
We could go into a whole other thing about
I know. I want to do a podcast on that.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Okay, well, keep looking for the signs. I don't know if they're there or not, but I've seen so many myself.
Yeah.
That it's hard to not see them. Once you see them, you're like, okay, well.
Right.
But I don't know if it's that person or, like you said, God, or like, I think you kind of reunite with God. So it's both, probably, essentially.
Right.
All in one.
Yeah. And I've known people I've heard stories of like, just crazy experiences where it really does make you raise an eyebrow. And you're like, maybe. Yeah. For sure.
I know. I've had some of them. Okay. What are some of the top coping? I know we talked and touched on them, but let's just lay it out for like a few coping strategies for dealing with grief. Some of your top favorite ones.
Yeah, man. Again, the intentionality, embracing the feelings, like the good and the bad of it, I think is so important. And again, seeing a lot of people avoid both. The ambivalence feels good to avoid in the moment. But I really do believe that it accumulates and hurts in the long run. So kind of in a way, ripping off those Band-Aids.
Well, almost like the feelings are in there, they're going to come out eventually.
Right.
So it's probably healthier to just do it sooner than later.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
It's hard. I think I avoid sometimes too.
Yeah, and I do too. I don't know if I like the Enneagram, if you know about that. It's like a person.
Yeah, you told me about it.
Yeah, it's like just the personality test. And definitely, like, I've noticed that's one thing.
Yeah.
You know, if you're familiar with the Enneagram, like I'm a 9 on the Enneagram, which is like the mediator, don't like confrontation as much. And even like within myself, sometimes it's like avoiding things. But what's amazing too, is a little tangent here, but we have like an area of our brain that actually like is meant to deal with new experiences. And the more you do a new experience that you're not comfortable with, whether it's starting a new job or whatever, just changing life things. Starting podcasts. Yeah. Like going out on a limb. This part of your brain grows like crazy fast. And so it's one of those amazing things when looking at humans specifically, how adaptable we are. And that area of the brain lights up like a Christmas tree with new parents because everything's new. And it's like the only reason people like want to have more children after their first is because this area of the brain is like, we got this. It's crazy. Even when it's really hard, you know, I see parents that are like not sleeping for 6 months and there's like, they seem really just high strung and stressed out. But then the second it comes up, they're like, let's have let's do this again. Like, was that miserable? Yeah, we can do this. So I mean, it's a mix of those those happy hormones and everything associated with it. But it's pretty amazing. But that is like, that part of our brain is like, speaks to our adaptability as a species.
I think it might be addicting or something. Because I like get to know something and I'm like, meh, bored, move on. What can I learn now? What new thing can I do now? Yeah,
and I think too, like with tattoos, I have a couple tattoos, and if they weren't so expensive, I'd probably be covered in them because I got my first one and I was like, ow, that sucked and that really hurt. Why did I do this? When can I get my next one?
You see my facial tattoo?
Oh, yeah.
It's my eyebrows.
That looks great.
Hurt so bad. Don't recommend it.
Yeah. I can't imagine it on your face.
It hurts so bad. So bad. Like, it wasn't fun.
Yeah, I bet. Is it? No. Yeah, you have to say you have other tattoos.
Oh, yeah, too. I have other ones, but this one was especially painful.
Yeah, I bet.
On my face.
Oh, yeah, you have all those little nerves. Like...
So worth it, though. Doesn't it look great?
Oh, that's awesome. But yeah, but that, like, you know, sure, you get the dopamine and everything.
Yeah, but you kind of forget the pain, like childbirth.
Right.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It was horrible.
Yeah, it's like, even I've known people who had like the worst childhood experience or childbirth experience where there was like a terror and like, you know, maybe like it struggled forever and then had to have a C-section, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, who'd ever want to do that again? And sure enough, it's like, I have multiple friends right now and family members who are like on their second or third after the previous one was just terrible. So good for them. You know, it's like, that's amazing. And again, I think it's amazing how adaptable we are if we take that chance and allow ourselves to be. And so kind of going back to your original question with like coping, you know, it like a little bit of exposure therapy, you know, can be really helpful. Like, look at a picture of them, you know, listen to that song, write them a letter, you know, inch closer and closer if you have to. You know, I know tearing off the Band-Aid, that doesn't work for everybody, of course, but just allowing yourself to like have those tears, you know, like, because they're not a bad thing, you know. Be angry at the person. Sometimes it's appropriate to just be angry at somebody. Yeah, like just be intentional about your grieving, you know, and join a group if you need to. You know, I think it's really powerful doing the group therapy for trauma. You know, grief is a trauma, you know, in a way, definitely. And sharing that with other people can be so helpful. Yeah. That feeling of isolation goes away and you understand now.
I like that, keeping them in your mind, because I think after grandma, like, I blocked her out so hard that I like lost all the good memories and I like couldn't even envision her face for a while. Like, it was like a weird block. Yeah. I don't want that, you know? Like, I'd rather just, I guess I should have kept her picture up and grieved her, you know, more appropriately.
One of the fun things, my grandpa on my dad's side, who's awesome, was a B-17 tail gunner in World War II. So he's on the Flying Fortress. And I associate the B-17 so much with him that every time I see one in person, without fail, I get choked up and will usually start crying. And
There's your sign.
yeah, right. And I remember I went to the museum in Madras, and they had, the Madras Maiden there. And it was like it's the same tail number he had and everything. They changed it recently now. They try to cycle the different like squadrons and stuff. But I remember I went to it and was just really choked up and tearing. And one of the museum guides came up to me and said, "Do you have a parent or grandparent on this?" He just knew right away, because it's like either this guy's got a weird plane thing going on. But no, he just immediately picked up on that. It's like, this has crazy sentimental value to me.
Yeah.
And it's one of those like symbols that I just, I love that I get to associate with him.
Yeah. When we go upstairs, I'll show you my grandpa and his plane.
Awesome. Yeah.
I don't know what kind it is, but yeah, I'll show you.
Yeah,
well, I think those are good tips, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You have book recommendations?
So many. Here, I'm actually listening to one right now.
Yeah.
It's a quick listen, which is why it's hard, man. That's one thing, especially in the healing process, getting people, this might sound, it's like you can lead a horse to water. You know, you got to be patient with people in their own process. But man, sometimes I wish I could just make people like listen to something or read something.
Yes.
But so it is called, right on the nose, Ambiguous Loss. Learning to live with unresolved grief. Hopefully not Greece. By Pauline Boss. It's pretty well narrated, and I think it's only like a 5-hour listen, which I listen to podcasts.
Grandma's name was Pauline.
What was that?
My grandma's name was Pauline. I'm telling you.
It's a good one.
She's been around a lot lately since I finally grieved her. Okay, I'll look her up.
Yeah, so I mean that one's been great, and it's more dealing with narcissism and like unhealthy, like toxic relationships. But I found it's been really great for like a lot of different aspects of my life. But it's called "It's Not You" by Dr. Ramani Durvasula, and that's a fantastic book. It's been really, really instrumental in like helping my family form boundaries and move on as a healthy kind of unit again, I think. And it's a work in progress, but yeah, those are just two off the top of my head. In that Ambiguous Loss book, a quick one, you kind of what you were saying about kind of avoiding them, is she was mentioning how like at the end of E.T., and he has to go back, and the boy's like, I want you to stay, and he says go, and then the boy asks him, or then E.T. asks him to go with him, and he says, no, I have to stay. And so then the little boy asks E.T. to stay with him, and then E.T. touches his head, with his finger, and just says like, oh, he's here, essentially says like he's always with him, in his mind. And I think it's also important to, like just consider that we're always carrying that person with us in their memory. And when we avoid it, we're essentially denying that person from taking that space up in our heads, know? And I think it's a cool thing and a beautiful thing to have those memories and carry those.
We don't want to lose them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're never truly gone unless we kind of push them out, get rid of those memories.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, David. Thank you so much for your time today and your knowledge, and I can't wait to talk to you more as you go through the program. Yeah. No, I'm learning a lot. It's been really wonderful. I'm excited to work with people. It's something I've been passionate about for a long time. Yeah. And it's fun to finally be pursuing it. I think, just kind of on a quick note, one of the reasons I've avoided actually going back to school and doing this was I think a lot of like unresolved grief and feeling stuck and just saying this is just the way things are, and just realizing, oh, they don't have to be, And so it's been a really awesome couple of, like last 2 years have been filled with growth. Yeah. I think we're made to grow. We need to keep growing. Yeah, keep adapting, keep growing. Yeah. Those people you've lost, don't want to see you stuck. And the people who've held you back, prove them wrong. Yeah. Well, yeah, the best thing we can do to honor them is to be our best people. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Thanks. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for listening. Before you go, If you'd like more episodes, behind-the-scenes updates, and a growing library of comforting resources, please join me at patreon.com/deathismylife. Your support helps this podcast grow and reach more people who need it. And if this episode resonated with you, please share the podcast with someone who might find comfort in it too. I'll see you there. This episode is brought to you by Havern Cabinetry and Design, a family business built on more than 50 years of master craftsmanship. Since 1972, owner Rick Havern has delivered immaculate, custom-built cabinetry and countertops for projects of every scale, from luxury homes to hotels, hospitals, and retail environments. Whether you're renovating a home or outfitting an entire building, their work will exceed your expectations. Learn more or request a quote at haverncabinetry.com. Link in the show notes.